morning, Boston. 6:06 here on the great WRKO and now on 93.7 HD2. 617-266-6868 is the number. A lot to talk about today. Huge newsmaker interview coming up with Mark Fisher at 7:35. I met Mark at the event that we held for Pastor Rafael Cruz. He was there in the audience. And Mark basically told me he's going to come on the show. He is going to name, this is what he told me on Friday, the individual that offered him $1 million to get out of the race for the Republican Party. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss that interview. It's going to be in studio. Furthermore, Martha Coakley again puts her foot in her mouth. We're going to have that next hour. Don't touch that dial. Trust me. And before I get to the news of the day, this Saturday, I want to repeat to all of you, is the March and Rally for Justina Pelletier. I will be there. Lou and Linda Pelletier, the sisters, will be there, hopefully. We'll have some state representatives there. It will be at the steps of the state capitol, Saturday, May 24th, 2 to 4 p.m. I need as many of you to show up as possible. Please, if you can, go down to the state capitol Saturday, this Saturday, May 24th, from 2 to 4 p.m., a rally to free Justina Pelletier. We can do this. We can bring this girl home and apply maximum public pressure. We can break DCF. We can break HHS Secretary Polanowitz. We can break Mini-Me, but I need your help. Bring your family, bring a friend, bring a colleague, bring as many people as you can, but we need to show up in big numbers so this girl can go home to where she belongs, her family. The news really of the last couple days is now the scandal at Veterans Affairs that threatens to engulf not only Veterans Affairs Secretary General Eric Shinseki, but maybe the president himself. And so what's been going on is this. There have now been reports that have been trickling in and now basically rushing to a crescendo that across the VA, which services our veterans and our troops, not only those who fought in Korea, who fought in World War II, who fought in Vietnam, but increasingly the bulk of the numbers are those that served in Afghanistan and in Iraq. And in clinic after clinic, VA hospital after VA hospital, it has now been revealed and exposed through multiple media reports, as well as now internal audits that have been discovered, that the Veterans Affairs Department, officials at the VA almost across the board, were deliberately cooking the books and falsifying the truth. And what they were doing was they deliberately had long waiting lists, but they had two sets of books. One set, the real set, showed that many veterans, many of them very sick, suffering from PTSD, some of them battling cancer, some of them having lost their limbs, desperately needing treatment, were in fact languishing, waiting in long lines, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, many of them up to a year, and they never got to see a doctor. But the second set of books, the ones they were cooking, showed they were all getting treated within 10 to 14 days. That in fact everybody was getting treated quickly, expeditiously, efficiently. And guess how the bonus system worked? If you cook the books and you show that the veterans are being taken care of, all of them on time, all of them within 2 weeks, all of them giving all of this rapid, expeditious, phenomenal care, guess what? VA officials got bonus after bonus after bonus. So as VA officials were lining their pockets with these bogus bonuses and incentives, 5, 10, 15, 20, $25,000, they're awarding themselves for supposedly getting the troops the best care possible. In reality, it was the very opposite. In reality, our boys and girls were waiting to see a doctor for 60 days, 90 days, many of them 365 days. And thanks to a whistleblower, a doctor at a VA hospital in Phoenix, Arizona, Dr. Sam Foote, who recently retired, working 24 years for VA hospitals in Phoenix, Arizona, Dr. Foote finally said, I had enough. I had enough. His conscience plaguing him, saying, I'm looking at these poor veterans who've given us everything. And they're coming into my office saying, Doctor, it took me 6 months to see you. Doctor, it took me 9 months to see you. Doctor, it's been almost a year. Finally, I got to see you. I keep calling. They keep saying, we have long lines. We have long lines. You have to wait your turn. You have to wait your turn. And meanwhile, they are literally languishing. And here's what happened in Phoenix, Arizona. God is my witness. At least 40 veterans died before they could even go and see a doctor, before they can even have their appointment. They were waiting so long that in Phoenix, Arizona, 40 dead. And now we're finding out it's not just Phoenix. Now we're finding out this is happening in outpatient clinics and hospitals in the VA system all across the country. It's happening in Colorado. It's happening in Cheyenne, Wyoming. It's in Pennsylvania. It's in Georgia. It's in Missouri. It's in Texas. It's in Florida. It's in state after state after state. Even the Democrats are outraged. Even the Democrats can't believe that this has been going on under the Veterans Affairs Administration. And so late last week, General Shinseki went in front of a congressional committee to try to explain, frankly, his incompetence and his ineptness. And he couldn't. And now there is a rising call for Shinseki to step down, for people underneath him to be held accountable to step down. It's time for people to be fired. And yet no one has been held accountable. No one. The one person that they found, the one scapegoat, was Undersecretary for Health, Dr. Robert Petzel. He's the one guy that they said needed to resign. And guess what? He was scheduled to retire this year anyway. So here you have the dear leader. Here you have Chief of Staff on the talk shows yesterday, Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough, running around saying, "Oh, it'd be premature to judge this. We don't think Shinseki should go. No, nobody should go." It's like Olga Rashe. What you're seeing under the Veterans Affairs Administration is on a macro level what we've been witnessing here with DCF in Massachusetts. It's Olga Rashe. Eric Shinseki is a male version of Olga Rashe. People are dying under his watch, left, right, and center. And yet no one wants to hold him accountable. The dear leader won't fire him. His administration won't dump him. And so Shinseki looks desperately for a fall guy. And the one fall guy he finds is the guy, Robert Petzel, who was going to retire anyway. The guy was gone by September. And notice, what is their first reaction? Damage control. What is their first reaction? PR. the PR game, how to spin this, public relations damage, public relations control. Make the dear leader look good. And so yesterday, Chief of Staff McDonough is running around saying, oh, the president's enraged. He's so mad. Oh, he's livid. He's enraged. He's so mad. Oh, I'm feeling it how mad he is. He's taking me to the carpet. And I'm just the Chief of Staff. Really? How come people aren't being fired? How come people aren't being fired? How come this entire corrupt Veterans Affairs bureaucracy is not being thoroughly revamped? Why isn't the president saying, I want a thorough internal investigation, I want Shinseki's resignation, I want every top official's resignation, and I want people thrown in prison? Because what was done here, my friends, was a crime. You can't cook the books. You can't fabricate evidence. You can't literally manipulate and change waiting lists to make yourself look good so you get yourself a bonus while people are languishing and waiting for care. My God. People who have risked their lives and limbs for this country? And then they come back? Needing their country to be there for them? And as they're sick? As they desperately need medical care? We let them sit there and lie to them on the phone saying, we'll get to you soon, we'll get to you soon, we'll get to you soon. And it's 3, 6, 9 months, a year? Many of them in Phoenix, Arizona. There was another media report today that the veterans in Phoenix, Arizona are petrified. They are living in fear because they can't get proper care at the Veterans Administration's hospital. $40 dead in Arizona alone. This occurred under the dear leader's watch. There were internal audits after internal audits going back years showing this thing was a serious problem. And what did he and his underlings did? They covered it up. Just like they covered up Benghazi, just like they covered up the IRS, just like they've covered up the NSA, just like they've covered up every other scandal in this administration. Just like they covered up Obamacare. Well, now, my friends, we're not talking about health care. And we're not talking about people spying on your phone or reading your text messages or your emails. We're talking about our brave men and women dying as they're waiting to get medical care. And my question to you is this. Is it time for General Eric Shinseki, the VA Secretary, to go? And does this scandal, in your view, threaten to engulf the dear leader? Do you blame the dear leader? 617-266-6868. Finally, are liberals going to say enough is enough? I want to hear from you, Boston. 620 on the great WRKO. All of your calls. Next.
There is an active review and as well as an investigation by the IG that will determine both what happened in Phoenix and I'm sure what happened elsewhere if some of the other allegations that we've seen merit investigation. What I've been saying is that under Secretary Shinseki's leadership, there has been a firm dedication to providing the kind of services that our veterans deserve. It's reflected in some of the decisions that were made to increase access to disability claims and to health care. We have, under his leadership, reduced veterans' homelessness by 24%. We've provided post-9/11 GI Bill educational benefits to more than 1 million students, and we have decreased the disability claims. My point is that when I talk about the progress that has been made, I have been referring to questions about Secretary Shinseki and his leadership of the Veterans Affairs Department, and that progress has come on his watch, and he certainly deserves credit for it.
This guy's unbelievable. This guy's unbelievable. 625 here on the great WRKO. 617-266-6868 is the number. there's Minister of Propaganda Jay Carney. So I want you to think about this. 40 veterans dead just in Phoenix alone. A couple more dead in Florida. A couple more dead in Wyoming. I mean, they're dropping like flies. Waiting list after waiting list after waiting list. Many of them stretching back as far as a year. We find out now through an independent investigation by an inspector general. Okay, this was appointed by Obama's own people. Systematically, they've been cooking and falsifying the books. They claimed they were seen within 2 weeks. In fact, many of them never saw a doctor and some of them died. And this guy's going on about what a great job Shinseki has done. How phenomenal the VA, the Veterans Affairs Administration, has been under the dear leader. This to me is incredible. This to me, I mean, what planet does this guy live on? And look, it's exactly like Mini-Me. Notice, look how they look at the camera. No emotion, completely bloodless. Like, hey, people die. People, hey, don't blame us. People die. Even though we knew people were dying, we covered up that people were dying. Our people were covering up that people were dying. Hey, General Shinseki's done a great job. It's like, remember Olga Roche? Olga Roche's doing a great job. Another body. Olga Roche's doing a great job. Another body. Olga Roche's doing a great job. It's the same thing. Now, this one is a bit different. Because when you start dealing with the military and you start dealing with veterans, that's explosive stuff. That's not Benghazi, and that's not the IRS, and because when you start going in that area, that pulls at Americans' heartstrings. This scandal really could have some serious legs. So they're playing with fire. With this kind of nonchalant, complacent attitude, nothing to see here, move on. What I can't believe is how this is one of the biggest stories and scandals of our time, whereby the Veterans Affairs Administration deliberately falsified and cooked the books in hospital after hospital and after hospital, and people died. And I don't mean one or two, by the dozens. And it wasn't in one clinic. It was in clinics in states all across the country. And the Obama regime knew about it, and they covered it up. George Stephanopoulos yesterday on ABC This Week gave it, I think, 30 seconds. The liberal media, this thing is toxic. This thing is radioactive. Because they know if they report on this story, the dear leader is in big, big, big trouble. 617-266-6868. Bruce, you're up next. Welcome to WRKO. Bruce.
Sir, calm down. Sir, calm down. Hey, are you all ready to get Ashton lined up and selected services? Because, hey, listen, there's 750 of us soldiers that have committed suicide this year alone, and that's because they're tired of waiting in line. They can't take it anymore. It's pretty disgusting, Jeff. And how about just the fact that they're whether they're in the line of fire or doing logistics, and that they were promised health care, dental care. I mean, these are the people that are supposed to be protecting us. They're going to have another draft to get people in. It's going to set us back into the 60s. Who's going to volunteer? I'm not going to advise anybody to defend me if we're not going to defend them. Come on, cuz. These guys got to wake up. They got to go to jail. Falsifying evidence.
I'm with you, Bruce. People got to start going to prison. This is just outrageous. Look, I have nothing but the highest respect for our veterans. In fact, I didn't even like to talk about this sort of stuff, but right after the show today, I'm going to do a golf tournament at the Granite Links Golf Club. In fact, if you want to see a funny video, go to WRKO.com. I was kind of promoting the event late last week. It's a hilarious video of me golfing for the first time. I went to Granite Links to do a promotional video for the event late last week. These are going to be disabled veterans. They're barely going to be able to play golf. And the reason why we do it is so they could at least have one day after making this kind of an ultimate sacrifice where they can enjoy the weather, enjoy the links, be among comrades, and just have a nice day where they can play some golf, be with their buddies, and just have some fun and forget all their problems. I'm going to be with them today from 11 till 5. No arms, no legs. Many of them can't walk properly. Many of them with severe traumatic brain injury. And you're putting them on waiting lists? Deliberately? And then you're saying you've got them treated when you haven't treated them so you can get your bonuses and your money and your pay increases? And then when it's exposed, you cover it up? And then when everybody knows it's going on, you have that clown Jay Carney stand there and say, Shinseki's done an incredible job. And Shinseki stands there and says, I'm very upset. I'm very upset. Really? Who's been fired over this, General? Where's the dear leader? Look how they're trying to desperately cover this thing up. Now, I ask you, if with God as your witness, if a young man, patriotic, and a young patriotic woman come to you and say, hey, should I serve my country? What are you going to say to them? Yes? And God forbid, if you get your legs blown off or suffer severe traumatic brain injury, you'll have to wait a year to see a doctor if you're lucky? My friends, this is wrong, and it's time heads rolled. 617-266-6868. Boston, your reaction next. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report, 6:39 here on the great WRKO AM 680. It's part of our Military Week celebration. As you know, I'm going to a golf tournament after the show today to help disabled veterans commemorate and honor their service. On Sunday, we're heading down to Cape Cod to help the troops. Cape Cod cares for the troops. But as part of our week of celebrating the military, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome Rear Admiral Christian Becker from the Navy. Admiral Becker, thank you so much for coming on the Kuhner Report.
Thanks, Jeff. It's my great privilege to be here, and a real honor. Thanks for making the time, and thanks for what you do for our Navy and our broader armed forces.
Oh, it's my pleasure, sir. I got to say, Admiral, I always say this. I'm behind this microphone because of people like you. You fight for my freedoms and my liberties, and the least I can do is honor and just salute the service that you and your fellow service members do for our country. It's truly phenomenal. So you're in town. I did not know this, but Boston is a big Navy city.
Boston is a great Navy town and has been a great supporter of our Navy Marine Corps team, well, I guess going back to the beginning. And I'm in town this week to participate in the commissioning ceremony for the midshipmen at Boston University Naval Reserve Officer Training Corps. BU NROTC is, well, that's where I got my start 27 years ago. I was commissioned in the class of 1987, and I was able to come back this week to be part of the commencement exercise, and then later today I'll have the privilege of commissioning the ensigns and second lieutenants in the Navy and the Marine Corps at a BU class of 2014.
Wow. Now, I'm just curious, why is Boston such a great Navy town?
Well, I guess the Cradle of Liberty has understood the importance of a strong armed forces and an armed force dedicated to protecting the freedoms that we have, and I think that it goes that far back. Of course, Fleet Week in Boston is a wonderful time, and that's a celebration of not only the Navy but the broader support for the military coming out of this great city.
I take it you've been deployed?
I have. I've spent some time, in in different areas of operation or areas of responsibility. We call them AORs. We love our acronyms. But I've been to the Pacific, I've been into the Mediterranean, I've been above the Arctic Circle, I've been down to Australia. 27 years of service in the Navy has given me great opportunities, and looking forward to the midshipmen that we'll commission today. I know their career will be afforded the same wonderful opportunities to serve our nation.
Now, I'm just curious, when you're deployed, how long are you on a ship?
Well, it depends. We have cycles that spend what we call workups, which are a period of weeks as we're going through our training program. And then depending on operational commitments, sometimes we could deploy for 6, 7, 8, 9 months or longer, depending upon what our nation needs from us.
Do you have any, let's say you're deployed for 9 months. Do you get short leave during that 9 months, or you're on the ship for 9 months? Sure.
There's always opportunities for times of rest and relaxation, opportunities to visit ports. And that's part of joining the Navy, part of the mystique of going overseas and meeting with our allies and our partners and extending the message of our Navy and our nation across the globe to make our friends, to support our allies. That's part of the great opportunity we've had in our Navy.
Have you ever seen combat?
I've spent some time in combat areas of operations. I spent a year working with the Army in Iraq. We were working a special mission unit trying to defeat the improvised explosive devices that were so devastating to our troops.
No, okay, so I'm just curious. When you served in Iraq, I don't want to get too personal, but you served on land? You didn't serve on a ship then, right?
I did. My background is flying with something called an EA-6B, an electronic attack platform, the Prowler, and that was how I served in about the first half of my career before shifting into something we call program management and acquisition. But the opportunity came up for me to support some folks in countering IEDs through electronic warfare, and our Navy took a special mission unit over there to support both the Marine Corps and the Army in that very difficult time.
You've touched on it earlier. I'm sure my audience would be fascinated to know about Boston's special relationship with the Navy. Does Boston provide a lot of sailors, service members for the Navy? Is there a high enlistment rate? Do a lot of people want to serve in the Boston area?
Well, the great state of Massachusetts has right now about 4,000 personnel serving in our officer and enlisted ranks, and there are 5,100 or so retirees living in the state of Massachusetts.
Wow.
It's a great concentration, and looking at the universities around the area, the 6 universities that make up the BU NROTC consortium, we've got over 120 midshipmen that are participating in those programs, getting great degrees, a great education, and going on to serve in significant technical fields, engineering fields, but across the spectrum, from nursing to in this class we have future nurses, future SEALs, surface warfare officers, Marines, submarine officers. It's a great place to get a great education, and anybody who understands Boston understands the great series of colleges and universities we have here, but there's also that great partnership with our Navy through the institutions of higher learning in Boston.
And does the Navy help, if someone wants to get an education, you join the Navy, they help subsidize your education? Is that how it works?
Indeed. I was on a scholarship myself, and that's where many of these midshipmen are able to attend these universities through a scholarship from our Navy to pay for tuition and other parts of the costs of education these days. It's a great opportunity. It's in addition to the opportunities offered at the Naval Academy or through Officer Candidate School or other ways to assess into the officer programs in our Navy.
Now, I'm just curious, what are you doing in Boston today?
Well, this morning I start my day with the opportunity to chat with you. From here we're going to meet with the mayor, and from there we're going to go to the Constitution, which is the oldest commissioned warship in our Navy and, as far as I know, in the world.
Really?
She is a fine warship, and I tell you, one of the great things about Constitution is that she's an example of the teamwork between our Navy and industry. She was built, as you know, with live oak and structured in such a way that was radical. It was a radical design. When she met the Guerriere in the Great Battle, where the Guerriere fired upon her and the cannonballs bounced off her hull, she was named at that point Old Ironsides. Right. Well, this wasn't because she was made of iron. It was because she was made of American ingenuity and American raw material. A great warship and a proud ship, and I'm looking forward to seeing her today.
You can't beat that, damn it. I mean, that is great stuff. So you're going to go on the U.S. Constitution. So you had a busy day ahead of you then.
I do.
Listen, I got to ask you another. Sorry, this may seem like a very personal question, but you said 27 years in the Navy, correct?
Correct.
How old are you?
Older than I look, I guess.
I swear to God, you don't look a day over 30.
Well, thank you very much.
I swear, your skin, I mean, you got more hair than I do. No, really, I'm looking at this guy, and he goes 27 years. I'm thinking, what, did he start at 3?
That's very kind of you.
Listen, you got phenomenal genes. Whatever you're taking. Are you married?
I am.
Oh, you are? Okay, because I got a sister-in-law. But let that go. Let that go. Well, listen, look, I want to thank your Kevin, who's also here with you. I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for everything that you do. May God bless you. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day today. To all of you out there, if you're thinking of joining the Navy, they're a great bunch of guys. Please go to www.navy.mil, M-I-L, short for military, www.navy.mil. You can also, you guys are on Facebook, right?
We're on Facebook.
So just what? I love the Navy?
Well, you can like it. Let's start with that.
Oh, okay, like it. Yeah, you like the Navy, just go like the Navy on Facebook. If you're thinking of a career in the Navy, it's a great, honorable profession. Admiral Becker, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the time and appreciate all you do for our men and women in the service.
God bless you, sir, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
The evidence that we're seeing coming out, the suggestions that veterans have actually died waiting to get.
I think the word you used is essential because you said the suggestion. This matter is under investigation. I would point you to what the IG
here you
said
are
yesterday.
praising the VA for all the things that have done under, been done under Shinseki's leadership.
So let me just explain the way you just asked that question. You're saying this is a suggestion that something terrible happened in Phoenix, and that's under investigation. All we know is that it's a suggestion.
There's evidence that there's been a real problem with the quality of health care that our veterans are getting. I think you don't think that this is. We still need to study this further. You don't think there's enough to act on right now to say that our veterans aren't getting the care that they need?
We are acting on.
Welcome back to the Kuhner Report, 6:55 on the great WRKO. This is incredible. Even Jonathan Karl, liberal reporter at ABC News, is like, are you kidding me? You're talking here about what a great job VA Secretary General Shinseki is doing? There's 40 dead in Phoenix. 40 that we know of. More dead in Colorado. More dead in Wyoming. Cases of people waiting 6 months, 9 months, veterans a year. In Texas, in Florida, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in state after state. Systemic. They've been manipulating and cooking the books, falsifying the evidence to show that appointment times are much shorter when in reality people have been waiting for months, languishing in lines. And you got this clown, Jay Carney, saying, maybe all we have is a suggestion of a scandal. No, just a suggestion. What, 40 dead? It's like DCF. Almost 140 kids dead. I'd say maybe a small little scandal, a little bit, just a little teeny scandal, teeny weeny. The lies are now becoming so obvious that they're laughable. And you know what the veterans are going through first? They're the laboratory rats. They're the guinea pigs for Obamacare. This is what happens when you have government-run health care. Today, it's the veterans. Tomorrow, it's going to be us. Get used to waiting a year or 18 months in line, and the government lying to you and telling you they're doing a great job as you're dying from cancer and you can't see a doctor. Because that's the story of England, that's the story of Canada, that's the story of Europe, that's the story of everywhere where people have tried socialized medicine. So you want to see the future of Obamacare? My friends, it's right here with the VA. We have seen the future, and it does not work. Marco, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome. Hi, Marco.
Hey, I just wanted to make a simple comment here, okay? Where's the hash mark for Save Our Vets, all right, from Michelle Obama, all right? This is, I understand, and God bless these girls that got kidnapped in Africa, wherever. But where's the hash mark for, our veterans that are dying?
Nowhere. Because if there is a hash mark, there's going to be a more thorough investigation. If there's a more thorough investigation, Shinseki's going to have to go. Top people, de VA are going to have to go. And you know what's going to come out? that Obama and his people knew for years, and they didn't care. In fact, they deliberately turned a blind eye. That's the truth. So that's the kind of president we have. And I'll tell you why. Because he knows the veterans don't vote for him. 80 to 90% of vets vote Republican. So as far as he's concerned, blank you. Let him wait in line. I don't care. Let him wait. Russ, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Go.
Jeff, this morning you interviewed the pride of our country. You know, let's face it, a massive firing of VA hospital leaders needs to take place across the country. And as far as I'm concerned, Obama and Hillary are media-made frauds, and I would not hire Obama or Hillary to manage a 2-acre hog farm.
Bill, you're up next. You're on RKO. Welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Bill.
My brother fought in Vietnam. He has the Bronze Star. He could have gotten the Purple Heart, but he said he didn't want a carry wound. Today he has to undergo the knife. He had most of his, half of his brain almost removed because he was doused with Agent Orange. He has been telling them for 3 years now he has a plate in his head that it's infected. They keep telling him no, no, no. Well, today they have to cut his head open, take the plate out. He's got to go 6 to 7 months with nothing there to protect his head, and then re-go an operation once the infection is done and have another plate put in his head.
Wow. Bill, please give your brother my best. Tell him I'll be praying for him. May God bless him, may God bless you, and may God bless your brother's entire family. 617-266-6868. Coming up next, Martha Coakley goes on the record and says we're only paying 10 cents a gallon in tax. I've got State Representative Jeff Deal. So much more. Don't touch that dial.
News at the top and bottom. Talk in between.
Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of the Kuhner Report, 7:05 here on the great WRKO. 617-266-6868 is the number. Coming up at 7:35, we have a newsmaker interview with Mark Fisher. He is going to tell us the individuals that offered him $1 million to drop out of the race against Charlie Baker. You don't want to miss it. Jeff Deal will be on very soon, but first, my friends, this Saturday, May 24th, which actually will be Justina Pelletier's 16th birthday, from 2 to 4 p.m., we here at Kuhner Country are going to be holding a major rally to free Justina Pelletier. And joining us to talk about this is her father, Lou Pelletier. Lou, thank you so much for coming on the Kuhner Report. I appreciate it.
Jeff, good morning, and how are you?
I'm good. Now, Lou, a lot of people tell me they're going to show up at this rally on Saturday. They want to give their support for Justina. They want to put as much pressure on DCF, Health and Human Services Secretary, the governor. How is she doing, Lou? How are you doing?
Well, this week has been another roller coaster week. For the third time, Justina has been transferred to a place other than her home. You know, even though people have probably seen or heard that she's been moved to Connecticut, so things are all hunky-dory. Well, it's better, but it's a long way from home, both literally and figuratively. Quick little background, she was at Boston Children's and on February 10th, over 15 and a half months ago. 2 months after that was her first move, where she was moved to the inpatient psychiatric floor called Beta 5. Second move was in January early of this year. She was moved to the facility in Framingham, Massachusetts, at Wayside. And then a week ago today, she was moved to a Susan Wayne facility with JRI in the northeast corner of the state called Thompson, Connecticut. So initially, this move was pretty upsetting to her. The difference has been, at least these people, and for the first time in 15 months, she's not being physically and mentally tortured on a daily basis. they're actually being humane, allowing visits, on a daily basis. In fact, my wife is staying at a hotel within 30 minutes of the facility, so it's easier for her to see her every day, since it is an hour and a half through the back winding roads of Connecticut to get there. And she's been allowed to go off campus with guards or a person from the facility. She's had a spa day, had her nails done, and yesterday they went to a zoo. So they're trying to have some sense of normalcy. But bottom line is, she's still a prisoner of the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families. She's not still getting the proper medical treatment. That's been one of the issues going on. And until she's home or in the proper facility, we are not going to let up at all on this fight.
Lou, how is her health? Is she still losing weight? Is she eating again? Has she stopped eating? How's her physical condition?
I think just mentally she's feeling better, because, like I said, she's in a place that's actually treating her, as a human being versus a lab rat. So that part of it, I think psychologically she's feeling a little bit better. But nothing has changed physically. She's still in the wheelchair, paralyzed below the legs. I believe they're just going to start some physical therapy. But that's not, they're another facility that deals with kids with behavioral issues. That's not what Justina has. She has mitochondrial disease that's been ignored and abused for over 15 months. So I give kudos to this facility for, at least, trying to do what they can, but that's not within their scope as far as really what she needs as far as the proper, medical care, physical therapy, pool therapy, all the things she's going to need to see if we can turn around the damage that's been done to her. And obviously the biggest concern is her pretty much paralysis below the hips that was caused by, this mistreatment. And each day that goes by where that's not being addressed, the likelihood of that becoming permanent increases dramatically.
Lou, how are you doing, and how's Linda? How's your wife doing?
Again, the stress on our whole family, you can't even measure it. It's, on a daily basis, it's like you're fighting bureaucracy, you're fighting, in this case, the ultimate, one of the ultimate things in government overreach. You've just been talking about the VA and what those poor people have to go through, and seeing how they still have their iron grip on my daughter, not letting go, even though March 3rd, which will be almost 3 months ago, the judge ordered Justina back to Tufts, which was an admission that the Boston Children's psychiatric experiment had failed. They're doing everything they can to dig their heels in to save face, protect from liability, who knows what. But, this thing should have been over, could still be over with the snap of a finger by 3 people, along with the judge, and they just are doing everything they can to drag this out.
Lou, the rally is going to be this Saturday at the state capitol, right at the steps, from 2 to 4 p.m. Will you be there? Will Linda be able to make it? Will some of Justina's sisters be able to make it?
Right now, there's a little bit of gamesmanship going on. They're trying to have a birthday party for Justina, and guess what time? On Saturday, May 24th, 2 to 5 p.m. And I've already told them I've got a previous commitment.
Now, Lou, who's playing these games?
Ultimately, it's DCF and so forth, but because they tell the facility what to do, but they're going to have a birthday party for Justina.
Wow.
So obviously, I think they're aware of this rally that's going on, and of course, if the family members are at the birthday party, well, there will be definitely family members at that birthday party, but there will also be family members at the rally. And then after the rally, I'll hop in the car, head over to see my daughter, and celebrate her birthday. But we cannot back off an iota.
Lou, I'm just curious. Can't you tell DCF this is my daughter, and I'll decide when we celebrate her birthday party?
You can't even believe. Remember, this is now her second birthday under the incarceration of the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families. The first time, when she was on Bader 5, they wanted us to bring a birthday cake. Except, with that birthday cake, usually you have candles. Oh, we don't allow candles. So they wanted us to celebrate a birthday with her with a birthday cake without candles.
Without candles.
So it's just one insult after another after another. Now, this place itself, I don't give them as much grief because I think ultimately somebody's pulling their strings. But at the end of the day, she's not celebrating her birthday at home where she should be. Can you imagine? Sweet 16th birthday in a behavioral facility when you don't have an iota of any behavioral issues. It's all medical. So it's quite mixed emotions with what in some ways they're trying to do a nice thing, but on the other hand, you always wonder about ulterior motives. But I will be there with one of my daughters at the rally at 2 o'clock on Saturday.
Okay. Lou, listen, we'll talk to you later this week. Hang in there, buddy. Stay strong. Our thoughts and prayers are with you and your wonderful family, and, of course, with Justina. To all of the members of Kuhner Country, if you need an extra reason to come, this is it. Let's come out in big numbers. Let's show support for Justina. Let's put maximum pressure on DCF, Health and Human Services, and Governor Deval Patrick. Lou, hang in there. We'll speak to you in a couple of days, buddy.
Jeffrey, God bless you, and God bless all your listeners.
Thank
you so much.
Take care, Lou. 617-266-6868 is the number. My friends, this Saturday, May 24th, 2 to 4 p.m., I need all of you to come. Bring your friends, bring your family members. We need to show a massive, massive show of strength to finally bring Justina Pelletier home and end this nightmare. Coming up next in studio, State Representative Jeff Deal. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report. It's now 7:18 here on the great WRKO. Martha Coakley yesterday went on the record with Ed Harding and Janet Wu. I think like 5 people watched that show, but let that go. And she made an absolutely incredible statement, which, by the way, just to show you how desperate they are to cover it up, On the Record's website will not even publish the transcript of what Martha, a.k.a. Marsha Coakley, said, because it'll completely humiliate and embarrass her. When asked about the gas tax and whether it should be indexed to inflation automatically without ever having to vote on it, she made the incredible, absurd statement that the people of Massachusetts only pay 10 cents tax on a gallon. And I'm like, what? Is she that disconnected? Is she that out of touch that she doesn't even know how much we pay in taxes for every gallon of gas that we pump into our car? Martha, I have news for you. It's not 10 cents a gallon. It's 26, almost 25 cents a gallon. You see, this is what happens when you have somebody who drives you around everywhere where you don't pay for gas or it's all done per diem. You have no idea what hardworking taxpayers actually pay when they go to the pump. So to discuss this and so much more is one of the people who's been driving the effort, spearheading the effort to tank the gas tax, State Representative Jeff Deal. Representative Deal, thank you so much for coming on the Kuhner Report.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having me on. And I think the word I think is astonishing. Somebody who's running for governor of Massachusetts, there's 7 ballot questions. You should know the 7 ballot questions. Has no idea that the gas tax is 26.5 cents. And you combine that with the federal tax, it's 44.9 cents. But just thinks it's a 10-cent tax on gas. I mean, it hasn't been 10 cents since I was born, just to put it in perspective. So, yeah, it's astonishing. It's hard to believe she's, when you're running for governor, you've got to know what issues affect people. And this gas tax issue is a critical pocketbook issue for everybody paying taxes. And we've talked about this so many times. So you're right. It's unbelievable, right?
And I got to tell you, Representative Deal, what I find stunning is, on the record, the transcript, they haven't put that up. I mean, they made news yesterday. Maybe not the kind of news they wanted to make, but they made news. They won't put the transcript up. They're obviously trying to cover it up. The Boston Globe, I didn't see anything in the Globe today. Here she makes a major gaffe, a major mistake. Frankly, it's humiliating. It's embarrassing. And nobody even wants to report on it, never mind call her out on it.
Well, you remember the rally we had when we first announced the gas tax initiative, and there was the opponents that were standing there, talking about that would cut funding to all this stuff. We said, no, it won't. You just vote every year like we always do on taxes. And so then, we said, this money gets diverted from the general fund, and they said, no, you're lying. And from that point on, the mainstream media, they started saying, oh, no, the campaign's talking about, they're lying about issues. We weren't lying. We know for a fact in 2010 gas tax money was diverted. Underground storage tank funds are part of that gas tax, was diverted in 2010. The year after the last time the gas tax passed, the money was diverted the next year to the general fund. So we know the history of what happens to this tax. That's what we were talking about. But you're right, the media doesn't want to cover, and you excluded, obviously, doesn't want to cover the real issues that affect the people. They want to provide cover for the people that are trying to perpetuate the most incredible thing we've ever seen, a tax that goes up without a vote. That has never happened in Mass before. It's the only tax now that this is happening, and we've got somebody running for governor that doesn't even know what that tax is. It's astonishing. I mean, I've got to say the word again.
Representative Deal, what is happening now in terms of the effort to repeal the indexing of inflation to inflation of the gas tax?
Well, right now we've got two rolling rallies that are going to be happening tomorrow and the next day. And those are going to be, we're starting off in Cape Cod and Quincy. We have a website that is tankthegastax.org, and that's .org at the end. And if you go there, you can see where these rallies are going to be. We're also collecting signatures at those rallies because we need to collect 11,000 more signatures because the legislature decided not to adopt the language when we got the 120,000 signatures the first time around. So now we have to go through this whole, work again to try to make sure we're on the ballot for November. And, so that we need everybody to come out to these rallies. We've got people who are running for state rep that are helping us collect those signatures. They're going to be featured at these rallies because we want people to know who is fighting for them across the state, and they should be in office helping me, helping, my fellow colleagues get this thing reversed, and then keep it reversed because, what the legislature tends to do is, act against sometimes ballot questions. The income tax not rolled back, the sales tax we want to roll back. They will try to stop any ballot initiative that they don't find acceptable. And so we need more legislators to make this thing stick.
Representative Deal, before I go to a break, I want to get your opinion on something else that's very important. We've had some members of the Republican House Caucus here in the state GOP, Representative Jim Lyons, Representative Mark Lombardo, come on this show and say it's time for House Minority Leader Brad Jones, who's supposed to be the leader of the Republicans up on Beacon Hill. It's time for him to go. You now see the gas tax, you see welfare reform, you see DCF, you see all of the problems affecting this state. Brad Jones, for the most part, has been nowhere. You can't see him anywhere. Is it time for new leadership? Is it time for new blood in the Republican Party up on Beacon Hill?
Jeff, Jim Lyons, I know he was on, Mark Lombardo was on with you, and they describe the situation I would say is accurate, okay? Since I've been elected, I focused on working on behalf of the people I've been elected to represent, and what we need up at the State House, obviously, is fighters, people who are going to get down on the floor of the House and speak to bills, speak to amendments that are critical, and we need people who are going to stand up to one-party rule. So if that's what it's going to take is a change in leadership, then I have to agree with them. But and that's the thing. It's so important to bring new people in that have great ideas. 2010 was that kind of year. I think 2014 is going to be that kind of year, and that's the work that needs to be done, is stopping the one-party rule that has led to so many problems, in all these agencies, legislation that works against the people, not for the people. And so, that's, I have to say, Jim and Mark are pretty accurate here.
Representative Deal, what do you think the future of the Republican Party here in Massachusetts needs to be? In other words, what should be the vision? What should be the agenda?
Well, the thing about the Republican Party is every time we're put in a position to lead, we do a great job. I mean, we've had a governor that, when Bill Weld came in 1990, we actually did landmark education reform that made this state number one in education. And whether or not you like, universal health care, it was a state solution that Mitt Romney came in and passed when he was governor. And everything that we've done as Republicans when we have power, it gets reversed when the one-party Democratic Party takes over. And so I just think that we need to articulate a vision as a party of first of all, being leaders on key issues that people, are important to people. And secondly, be willing to stand up and fight and it's not just in the State House, it's across the state at local level, running for office, but inspiring people basically to say that there is a second party. That party does care about the people in ways that, we think are very important, and then running and supporting those candidates and being unafraid to support them on issues that are very, very, very important.
We have been talking with State Representative Jeff Deal, one of the good guys on Beacon Hill. Representative Deal, thank you so much for coming on the Kuhner Report, and keep up the good fight, my friend.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Take care. 617-266-6868 is the number. My friends, coming up next, Republican candidate for governor Mark Fisher will reveal the names of the people that offered him a $1 million bribe to drop out of the race against Charlie Baker. Newsmaker interview coming up next. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report. It's now 7:35 here on the great WRKO. 617-266-6868 is the number if you want to call. You can text us at 680-680. It is my honor and privilege to have Mark Fisher in the studio. He's a Republican candidate for governor. Mr. Fisher, thank you so much for coming on the Kuhner Report.
Oh, Jeff, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
All right, so, Mark, we were at the event for Rafael Cruz on Friday in Foxborough. Great event.
Wonderful.
You walked over to me and you said you want to make some news on the Kuhner Report on Monday. So, okay, here it is. So a couple of weeks ago, at a recent press conference, you stated that several Republican insiders had walked up to you and offered you $1 million, basically a bribe, for you to drop out of the race and no longer run against Charlie Baker.
Correct.
Before I get your response, I'm staring at a piece here in the Boston Globe which quotes your lawyer, your attorney, Thomas Harvey. And here is what Harvey told the Globe. Quote, Harvey confirmed Tuesday night that Fisher, that would be you, who is suing for the right to face off against Republican frontrunner Charlie Baker in the fall primary, had asked for $1 million, but said it was only a starting point in the negotiations. Quote, we're trying to negotiate a reasonable settlement, and you have to start somewhere, according to Thomas Harvey said. Mark Fisher wants to be made whole financially, Harvey said. And so Harvey said Tuesday night that the $650,000 figure is still negotiable. So your lawyer is saying you wanted $1 million, or you would take $650,000. You're saying they offered you $1 million to drop out of the race. Mark, let me ask you this. Did they offer you the money, or did you ask for the money?
They offered me the money back in December. And sort of set the scenario here, Jeff. This was not the first attempt by the Mass GOP to have me drop out of the race. A month before, in November, two people, and there's nothing wrong with this, two people that I know well, Chanel Prunier, National Committee woman, and Karen Polito. Both came to my office in November. Again, nothing wrong with this. They didn't offer any money, but they wanted me to consider another position, either run as Senate or run as a state rep or something like that. We had a long discussion, and again, nothing wrong, but it didn't dissuade me from running for governor. And so what happened in December, with the talk of the $1 million, in my mind, this was a ratcheting up. Okay, they couldn't talk Mark out of running. They used two people from Shrewsbury, my hometown, Chanel and Karen. Didn't work. And the next step they took, they used the state committee man that I know, Steve Elward. And he called me on the phone. And I knew Steve from working on the tank the gas tax back in September and October. And he said to me, Mark, and by the way, I had heard rumors about being offered $1 million about a week prior to Steve calling me. And Steve called me, and he said he was approached by a fellow named John Cook at the Mass GOP, and they wanted to talk about the possibility of my running for another office, and if I did so, they would be willing to put $1 million into my campaign account. It wasn't going to be in a manila envelope somewhere in a back alley. It would be in my campaign account to drop out of the race for governor and run for something else, treasurer. And I told Steve, I know him. I said, Steve, I'm not interested in that. And he said, I know, but I'm just the messenger, and I agree that he was. I'm just passing this along to you. They want you to call him. And I told Steve, they can call me. They have my number. And they said, that's not the way it works. You have to call him, and I'm just relaying the message and so forth. So I did that either that...
Sorry, who called John Cook?
John Cook. John Cook. And by the way, I've never met John. I don't even know what his position is. I've heard it might be treasurer, or he's the money guy, or something like that. But Steve gave me John's number. I called the number either the same day or the next day, and John was not there. And so I left a message, told him what had transpired, and John called back the following morning. I was not there, but he left a message with one of the fellows that I work with, my estimator. He talked with him, and he wrote down the message, and he relayed it to me. And I called John back that noontime. And this time, Jeff, what I did was, it was just before our kickoff on December 17th, and we have a campaign song. And when I called John back, I played the campaign song in the background, and it got louder and louder and louder as I was talking to him. And the point was, this is ridiculous. I don't want to talk about this anymore. And at the end, when I was leaving the message, the music was so loud that it was just drowning out my voice. I think John got the message because I never got a call back. So you never spoke to John Cook?
Never spoke to him. Okay. All right, so what you're alleging is this, that Steve Allward approached you and said, we want you to run for a different office. We don't want you to run for governor. I've got a guy, he's basically the intermediary. I've got a guy who's going to offer you $1 million. They're going to put in some kind of a campaign account so you can run for a different office.
Yeah, not quite, Jeff. Steve wasn't saying that we. He was just saying, like Karen and like Chanel were the month before, they were just the messenger. He knew me. He had worked with me before, and he was the messenger to relay that this offer was going to be made by somebody higher up.
By John Cook. All right, now, before I get to this, getting back to your lawyer, what is your lawyer talking about? Why is your lawyer telling the Globe that you wanted $1 million, but you can negotiate down to $650,000? Right. Why were you guys asking for $1 million from the state GOP?
I explained this a week and a half ago at the press conference. I'll do it for your listeners again this morning. So after the convention, when the delegates started coming to me and explaining the details of what happened, we decided to go forward with the lawsuit. The Mass GOP lawyers came to me and said, listen, we're sort of solution people. We want to know if Mark will consider some amount of money to drop out of the race. And I said no. And they kept coming back and back and back. And it was repeatedly no, no, no. They came back with a little bit of different offer. Would Mark consider something financially if he were to be put on the ballot? And I said, well, yeah, if it would recoup my lawyer fees or any damages that I suffered. And by the way, Ed McGrath, attorney for the Mass GOP, has agreed to do just the same thing. So they said, well, what kind of a number are you looking at? I said, well, you guys, you know what we've incurred. We had a meeting about the legal fees and stuff. Make an offer. And they wouldn't. They kept bugging and bugging for me to make an offer. And I told Tom, my attorney, Tom, to shut them up. Tell them it's the same ridiculous figure they made to me back in December, $1 million. And he said, are you serious? I said, it's the same ridiculous figure they made back in December. And when Tom relayed it to Lucia Vera, the Mass GOP attorney, he said the same thing. You can't be serious. Of course not. It was the same ridiculous offer they made in December. Didn't accept it then. Just to shut them up and stop pestering us.
Okay, but your lawyer seems to be haggling. Your lawyer is saying Mark Fisher wants to be made whole financially. So basically your lawyer is saying, no, you wanted the money. It wasn't to shut him up. I'm quoting, Mark Fisher wants to be made whole financially, quote unquote, Tom Harvey said. And then Harvey confirmed to the Globe he would be willing to go as low as $650,000. So your lawyer told the Globe it wasn't to shut him up. You wanted the money.
Yeah, this is all for damages and legal fees that, again, their attorneys are okay with. I mean, we sat with them and talked about this. Reasonable damages. And hopefully we can settle this out of court before it gets to that stage now.
Okay, so you do want the money.
That was always with being on the ballot. They've cost me. They've hurt the campaign. I mean, to incur the legal fees that we've incurred, and it was up to $43,000 as of April 22nd, the inability to tap into matching funds, which would be $750,000 in the primary, $750,000 in the general, the convention fee of $25,000, and on and on and on. They have some damages. We have some damages here that the Mass GOP caused me to incur. I want to be made whole by that.
Yeah, but hold on, but Mr. Fisher, let's be honest. I mean, you run for a campaign. You want to spend your money. You spend your money, but the party doesn't owe you $1 million.
Of course not.
How can they owe you $1 million?
Of course they don't.
So why are you asking for $1 million?
I'm not asking for $1 million.
But your lawyer just did in the Globe. And you guys are going as low as $650,000.
I suppose, Jeff, what I should have said is I need $17 trillion. It was just a ridiculous amount to shut them up.
Yeah, but you said you would take the money. Your lawyer said you'd be made whole financially.
For reasonable damages. To be made, yeah, for the damages they caused me to incur. If they had put me on the ballot like they did just last week, if they had done that within a day or two or a week after the convention, then we don't talk about damages. But now we've got legal fees, and they've cost the campaign. We had to go out and get signatures that we wouldn't have had to pay for. All this stuff
and
adds
all
up.
of this amounts, in your view, to $650,000 minimum or $1 million?
Not $1 million. No.
So why are you asking for $1 million?
Again, I should have asked for $17 trillion to be a ridiculous amount to shut them up for. You guys know what we've talked about. We had discussions about legal fees and signature gathering and the convention fee and not being able to tap into matching funds. All these things have a monetary value to them. If they want to have a jury decide it, that's fine.
So you're going to continue with your lawsuit?
Correct.
Okay. Now this is the other point many Republicans have made. You're now on the ballot. There is going to be a primary. So you got what you wanted. Why are you continuing with this lawsuit?
Yeah. The judge bifurcated the case. So one part of the case dealt with my getting on the ballot. That case is gone. The second part is the damages. And again, if they had put me on the ballot within a day or two or a week after the convention, Jeff, there'd be no talk about damages. But as days go on, I mean, legal fees are like taxes. They only go up. When we met back in April, I think my attorney told... It was Kirsten Hughes, Cunningham, Ed McGrath, Lucia Vera, their attorneys, that his legal fees alone were $43,000. That was a month ago. They only go up.
Yeah, but if you drop the lawsuit, your fees aren't going to go up, Mark. You're insisting on the lawsuit. You got what you wanted. You got your primary.
Yeah.
And so why not just drop it there?
Because the legal fees that they've caused me to incur and the signature gathering.
All right, how about that? So ask for $43,000, but where do you get $650,000 or $1 million? This is what I don't get.
Yeah, the convention fee. I mean, this is a breach of contract. That's going forward. That's part of this lawsuit that the judge is continuing to go forward. And again, even Ed McGrath, their attorney, says these are reasonable fees. The convention fee. All this adds up. The signature gathering is a huge amount as well.
So, I mean, what would it take for the Republican Party to say, okay, Mark, what would it take for you to drop your lawsuit? What's your price?
Yeah, let's sit down and go through it all.
Give me a ballpark figure. 43 plus what? The convention fee is 25,000.
Yeah.
Plus, let's say pain and suffering.
No pain and suffering. Give me a break, Jeff.
Right. I mean,
none of that.
75,000, 100,000.
When it was mentioned a week and a half ago at the press conference, I think Frank Phillips from the Boston Globe mentioned 100,000. I said, yeah, that seems to be in the ballpark.
So 100,000 would work for you.
Yeah, that seems to be in the ballpark.
Okay. Now,
I haven't added everything up.
Now, getting to Steve Allward.
Yep.
Why would Steve Allward make the offer?
Well, he didn't. Well, Steve didn't.
Well, I mean, he was the go-between. He was there on behalf of John Cook.
Correct.
Why would Steve Allward do that? In other words, my understanding of Steve Allward is he's quite a staunch Republican. In fact, on many issues, he's closer to you than he is to Charlie. Mm-hmm. And so why would he want that? He would have no incentive to be the go-between guy.
Good question. I think he was asked, and I think he probably agreed with me at the time. I told him straight out, I'm not interested. And he was just saying, they asked me to do it, Mark. I'm just relaying it. I don't think he agreed with it. He was just being the messenger.
And you're saying the ultimate person here was John Cook?
Correct.
And now let me ask you this then. Do you think what Cook did was illegal? Was this essentially, because you alleged in the press conference, this was effectively a bribe?
Yeah. My first reaction, again, Jeff, I'm not a lawyer, but my first reaction was, they can't do that. That's a bribe. That's illegal. And the second one was, they don't know why I'm in this. I'm not even going to consider this or any kind of amount of money. However, I've heard two different attorneys say, well, this is illegal, and another one say, no, it's not. So I'm going to leave it up to them, but certainly in my mind it was.
Here's the point that many Republicans are making, and I want you to address this issue.
Sure.
Charlie Baker, they believe, will be the nominee. Mm-hmm. They believe that it's like almost a miracle for Mark Fisher to win. So why would they offer you $1 million? Why would they do that if Mark Fisher really has no chance of winning?
That's a great question. And not only the $1 million, Jeff, but even prior to that in November, why are they coming to me with different reps? And after the $1 million, after I kicked off, they came to me with other state reps sitting in my office for close to 2 hours trying to talk me out of running. Why? Who's Mark Fisher? I've never run for office before. What kind of a threat do I pose to either the Mass GOP or Charlie? I think primaries are a good thing. When we have them, we win. We make each other better candidates. And then the voters get to decide who the best one is to go against the Democrats in November. I don't understand it myself.
Well, I mean, their argument is you're making this up. In other words, in fact, they've come out and said you're the one that was asking for $1 million or $650,000, whatever. In other words, the only person that's been interested in money from the beginning is Mark Fisher. Yeah. Well, because Charlie Baker has no incentive, John Cook has no incentive, Steve Allward has no incentive. They say so. Basically, Mark Fisher is making spurious, baseless allegations. Mm-hmm. What do you say to that argument?
Well, here's a way to test that out. Talk to Steve Allward. He knows. We had the phone conversation. He knows. And it won't just be my word. It'll be Steve's as well. And again, this happened back in December. I didn't bring all this stuff up. This is the way politics is in this state and everywhere else. It's why people are so upset about politics. But it's not just my word. Let's talk to Steve Allward. He'll back me up on this.
Cooks, let's give Steve Allward a call. Mark, will you talk to him on the air?
Sure, if he calls, yeah.
Okay, let's try to get Steve on the air. And hopefully we can clarify this, because I saw the piece in today's Boston Globe, and my understanding is Steve Allward denies that he ever offered you a dime or that he ever mentioned money. His argument was that, yes, he wouldn't like to see a primary between you and Charlie Baker, that you should run for a different office, we shouldn't be fighting, Republicans shouldn't be fighting among themselves. But he said never did he offer you any money. And the larger question is this: why would Steve Allward and John Cook think that the GOP even has $1 million cash on hand?
Yeah, I agree. By the way, Steve didn't make the offer. He's right. Steve did not make the offer.
No, but I mean, he was there on behalf of John Cook, saying, give him a call.
Give him a call. And yeah. I mean, if John Cook hadn't called Steve Allward, Steve would never have called me to talk about this. So let's not make it sound as though Steve, was making the offer.
Yeah, he's just the middleman here.
Just the middleman. Just the messenger.
And now, do you think John Cook, let me ask you this, do you think John Cook was acting on behalf of Charlie Baker?
Oh, I don't know that.
Because obviously, the implication is they offered you $1 million because you're a threat to Charlie Baker.
You could make that connection. I'm not,
Now, let me ask you this then, final question. Why do you think they offered you $1 million? In the end, why? What was the reason? Why would they risk everything? Because if this turns out to be true, then this implicates the entire Republican leadership. This is massive corruption. This is effectively a bribe. It's illegal. People could end up going to prison. Why would they risk their careers? Why would they risk their very freedom to offer you $1 million? Yeah. Ultimately, why would they take such a risk, such a gamble?
Once again, it's a great question. I think the answer to that is the same answer as why they would have people come to me in November, and afterwards they had people come to me even after the lawsuit was filed. In order to drop it and offering different things. I don't know why. I don't know why. Mark Fisher, I'm just trying to represent those disenfranchised people, the Tea Party, the Liberty Caucus, Mass Republican Assemblies, pro-Second Amendment people, pro-life, pro-family people. What do they have to fear from that? I don't know.
We have been talking with Mark Fisher. He is Republican candidate for governor. Mark, do you want to stick around for another segment?
Absolutely.
Okay. 617-266-6868 is the number. We'll take some of your calls. Do you believe Mark Fisher? Who do you think offered Mark Fisher the money? And do you think John Cook and Steve Allward were behind it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? 617-266-6868. All of your calls next. Welcome back to the Kuhner Report, 7:58 here on the great WRKO. We're in studio with Mark Fisher. He has made big news today on this show. He now has come out and named the two individuals that he said offered him basically $1 million, as he told the Globe today, a monetary incentive to leave the race against Charlie Baker and not have a primary within the GOP. The text board is lighting up. It's burning off. Literally, it's just burning up. Do you believe Mark Fisher? Do you not believe Mark Fisher? He says that he was approached by Steve Allward, somebody who's known within the Republican Party, who is acting as a go-between for John Cook, who is a major fundraiser for the state GOP, and that John Cook had offered Mark Fisher $1 million if he would not run against Charlie Baker. Basically, it was a bribe. To run for a different office, they'd put $1 million in a separate campaign account. Explosive allegations. It calls into question bribery, corruption, abuse of power, criminality by key people in the state GOP. 617-266-6868 is the number. Mark, we usually have Holly Robichaud. She's a columnist for the Boston Herald. Come on at 8:05. Yep. She has a couple of questions and issues with you regarding your allegations. Mm-hmm. We normally have her on at 8:05. Would you be willing to stay on an extra segment?
Absolutely.
Okay, yes?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll have Holly on to discuss this with Mark Fisher. We'll also take your calls. Do you believe Mark? Do you not believe Mark? Why would the Republicans offer Mark $1 million? All of your calls, 617-266-6868. Don't touch that dial.
News at the top and bottom, talk in between.
Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.